Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fabulous Living with Angela Jones. I'm your host, Angela Jones. I'm back. I'm so excited to be back. It feels like I was gone longer than a week. Did you guys miss me? I missed you guys. I really did. It was so weird not coming in to do the show last week, even though I've only been doing it for 2 months. I really missed being here last week. So I missed you guys. I'm ready to get back. I've got a fabulous show planned for you guys today that you're going to really enjoy. First, did everybody have a great Easter? I mean, here in DC, it's actually feeling like spring outside. It feels like spring has really sprung. I'm really excited about that. So it's a lot to be happy about. So I'm very excited about being here with you all today. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a recap of what took place this past week. And it ties in perfectly with today's show. So let me just kind of recap, like I said, and go back to the week before last. Can you guys remember back that far? Because I'm going to have a little bit of a time remembering that far back. But I'm going to try. So remember in that show, we talked about I was kind of telling you all about spring and kind of preparing for spring and spring cleaning and all that good stuff. And then we kind of talked about since the first quarter of 2018 was coming to a close. Can you believe that? I cannot believe that 2018 is quarter one. I mean, wait a minute. I'm trying to skip ahead. I was about to say the whole year is over. Quarter one, Q1 is over. So I was really just trying to get everyone in the mindset of thinking that, hey, it's not too late to still kind of start to plan and prepare for the year. And I kind of went through the steps of creating a life plan and setting some goals and things like that for the year. And I think that sometimes we kind of think that, if we didn't do it all in January, we're not going to do it. It's never too late. And we're just starting, brand new month. It's a brand new season. And it's still time to work towards whatever it is that you set out to do in 2018. And then, hey, if you have not planned anything yet, it's still not too late to jump on board and get some goals and some of your aspirations and to set those things into motion for 2018. It's never too late. So I thought that today would be the perfect show, as I mentioned, to kind of give you guys a little bit of a jump start into getting to making those things happen. So I have two very fabulous guests here to help us with that. And you'll be meeting them in a few minutes. But what I wanted to also do is, as far as like recapping, is I'm pretty sure that I shared with you all that even for me personally, I have, wait a minute, rewind. Today's show is entitled, I've decided to call it a Spring Reinvention Convention. So I have an all-female audience. I love this. There's so much girl power in here. I love it. It's amazing. Sorry, Jay, you're the only rooster in the hen house today. That's my engineer, Jay. But we're gonna, I'm so excited about what we have in store. But we're just going to take this time and take this hour to ourselves as women, because often we don't make the time to do that. We're so busy being everything to everyone else. Can y'all agree with that? Mothers, sisters, daughters, PTA president, have to, come home and fry the bacon and cook it up in a pan, whatever that old commercial was. We're so busy trying to do it all. And I thought that today, and hey, men, not discriminating. I'm not saying that you all don't have dreams and aspirations and all of that too. But we're going to focus on the ladies today. But it's not that you can't get any tidbits or any information from today too. But I thought that sometimes, we have to hit the reset button. And it's okay to say, hey, I need to kind of rethink some things. Or I kind of want to upgrade myself. Hey, we should all be doing that. We should always be a work in progress, I think. So I just thought that it was perfect to kind of do that since we're starting at the beginning of a new season and all of that. So I just thought that would be great. So, hence the name Spring Reinvention Convention. So that's kind of what us ladies are going to be doing today. We're having a little reinvention convention. Isn't that cute? I love that. So, as I shared with you all, I am going to be turning the big 5-0 next year. And thank you. So I thought, woo, I'm really excited about it. Some people are kind of like, oh man, I was depressed when I turned 50, blah blah blah. And I thought, why? It's a blessing to be able to see another year. And then to me, it's an opportunity. Every decade, I try to do something to improve myself, to enrich my life, to better myself. So, I said that I think I shared with you on the last show that this is my 50 Eve. This is what I'm calling this year. So I'm just trying to get it all in and just kind of finesse all those things that I want to kind of make better and that I want to kind of improve upon or embark on some things that I've never done before, like a radio show. So, hello, never done this before in my life, people, but I'm finding that I love it. And I definitely took a big step of faith and decided to do it. And actually, I didn't really decide to do it. It kind of happened to me in a sense. I was in the right place at the appointed time. And I'm all the better for it. I mean, I get to utilize another gift. I get to share all the things that I love to do with, the food and the entertaining and the fashion and all the things that I love. And don't get me wrong, I love all of that. And this is definitely a lifestyle show. However, all those things would be for naught if, we're not taking care of ourselves and we're not doing what we need to do to be the best, so that I could be, so we women, men too, again, sorry, I'm going to be saying women a lot. Sorry, guys. But so that we women can be the best that we need to be so we can be better mothers and employees and daughters and, servants at church and all of those things. So I kind of feel like it would kind of all be, I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, we have to take a look inward and see what we need to do to kind of to do things so that we can live our lives fully. As I said in that last show, and I stand behind this wholeheartedly, that, we're supposed to be living our life. I mean, yeah, we can kind of live our lives and it can get cyclical, go to work, we go home. We take care of the kids. And then we do it all over again. We go to work, we come home, we fix dinner, we take care of the kids. Or maybe by Saturday, we come home, we go take them to soccer practice or whatever. It becomes cyclical and we can tend to forget about ourselves. So I thought that this day would just be just for the ladies to kind of have a moment to do that and to kind of tap into those things that sometimes we're so busy putting everyone else first that we forget about our own dreams. And I know that I did that. And then I decided to launch the blog when my son went off to college. I was like, I have nothing but time now. I don't have to run him to football practice anymore. I mean, and it was kind of for a second, I was like, oh, well, yeah, well, I have nothing but time. So I decided to launch the blog, the fall that he went to school. I mean, like I really said, see you, Darius. And then I set up my website, I got everything going, and I started the blog. And it's been amazing. And then, like I said, it's morphed into the show. And this is something that I hadn't thought that I would ever do. And so anyway, all of that said, I too have a lot of dreams and desires and things like that. And I know that I'm not the Lone Ranger. So I thought that this is what today will be. So no cooking today, no dessert, none of that. We're going to focus on taking care, a little self-care. That's what we're going to do today. But before we get into everything and I introduce our guest and all of that good stuff, I thought that it was very interesting, and I just love when things like this happen. I know a lot of you know that April 4th was the anniversary of, it was the 50th anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it was also the 90th birthday for Maya Angelou. So I thought, wow, that's kind of amazing. We're here today talking about dreams and what is the most, the most noted quote of Dr. King's or the most noted speech, I have a dream. And then with Maya Angelou, poet, author, actress, she was also a dancer too. Just an amazing woman. And then her most, popular, one of her most popular poems was Phenomenal Woman. And today we're here to talk about dreams and phenomenal women. I love that. I just love when things like that happen. So I just thought that was so amazing. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to make sure that we are taking the time to tap into those gifts and talents that sometimes we know we have, but we're not utilizing them. And if we're not utilizing them, it's not a gift if you're not giving it, if you're not putting it to use. That's how I feel. If I love to cook and entertain, but if I'm just doing that for my family, and I know they love that, but if I'm not sharing that with other people, then it's really kind of it's not being utilized. So gifts are supposed to be utilized. And I feel like we as women kind of put ourselves way on the back burner. But today we're going to bring all those things to the focus. And today I have a wonderful guest. And I don't want to call her, I'm going to call her something that she's had her on her website, and I love this. Y'all know I get really excited about words. I'm a communications major. I just get really excited about words, but she called herself a dream architect. I love that. Is it okay if I call you that, Michelle? Okay. And I love that. So we're not calling her a life. She is a dream architect. She's going to help us today with building our dreams. And today we're going to just kind of get some foundation. We're going to kind of lay the foundation. And then she's going to help us, so that we can kind of move from there and kind of build upon what the foundation that we laid today. So in addition to my very fabulous dream architect, Michelle McKinney, I'm sorry, I got so excited. I just called her a dream architect. I forgot her name. Sorry, got so excited. We also have one of the fruits of her coaching business, and her name is Summer Theodore. So she is, Summer, current client or former client? Current client. Yeah. So it's all fresh. She's going to give us all that fresh information. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I've been talking to Michelle. We talked on the phone, and it was like we were girlfriends, like right from day one. I was just like, I love your energy. She was like, I love your energy. We were just like, I was at work trying to, be like incognito, but I couldn't help it. I was so excited. So I'm gonna bring those two ladies on, and we're gonna kind of start to walk through this process. And then, like I said, we have an in-studio audience of all ladies here today. So after we kind of go through the process, I'm hoping that one or two of our ladies will want to come up, and everybody's pointing at each other like, no, not you, me, no. So I'm hoping that one of the ladies will want to come up, and we're going to kind of do like a mini coaching session. I mean, come on, y'all. I mean, this is, hundreds of dollars, and Michelle's going to give it to you for free. We like free. Free yourself. So anyway, literally. So today, I'm excited. So today we are going to, and Michelle's business is called Dreams Unleashed. I love that. So today we're going to unleash some dreams, and I'll be right back in a few so we can get started with that process. everyone. Welcome back to Fabulous Living with Angela Jones. And we're back with my lovely host. I'm so excited. My lovely guest, rather, Michelle McKinney, and she is the founder of Dreams Unleashed. And as I said, she is a dream architect. I know I keep saying that, but I do. And I'm so grateful that she's here. And I first shout out to my good friend, my good sister friend, Carlena. Thank you for connecting us. We talked on the phone, and like I said, instantaneously, it was just like,
hey girl.
I knew, hey girl, exactly. What she just said, hey girl, right away. So I'm just delighted that you're here today. I'm so excited that you're going to be here sharing your gifts with us. So we have a lot to cover, so we're going to just jump right in. So tell me, just give because I feel like I know you, but I don't. You're my friend in my head. But tell the listeners a little bit about your background, and then tell us about your journey and what got you here.
Yeah, so of course we have similar backgrounds.
We do.
And so for about 20 years, I served as an executive assistant to senior executives at nonprofit and for-profit organizations. God just really, really blessed me to be at really great brands. I was at American Express, Fannie Mae, which is local to here, and then more recently, as of 5 weeks ago, I think, I was at Starbucks in operations. And so all of those positions, and I was at Zion Church, a church that I attended as well, so I was there for 5 years. And so all of those positions, it was working with the senior level executives in the company. And so throughout that time, I kind of figured out my niche in terms of what interested me. It wasn't, let me just come in and set your appointments. Let me figure out what's the problem that you have. And so what I identified in terms of problem they had is most senior executives have a challenge with balancing the work life and then also the personal life. And of course, you can't ask your assistant to do any personal stuff, but guess what you can do? You can volunteer. And so I figured out how to volunteer to help them to really be successful, not just in the work realm, but also in the personal realm whenever I could, as much as possible. So that might look like getting cakes for birthdays or just really just odd sort of things, just to be able to help them out. Because even though we look at those lives, whether you be a man or a woman, as two separate areas, one always impacts the other. And so if home is going well, then that impacts work. If work is going well or bad or whichever way, it can impact the two. And so I did that work for 20 years. And what it allowed me to do, because when you know this, when you're an executive assistant, even though you don't have the title of chief of staff, you can operate in that realm establishing trust and keeping your ear to the ground for those senior executives. And that level of trust, what allows you is proximity and access. And so it was going to meetings on behalf, being an ambassador, all those kinds of things. And so in being able to formulate those relationships, it was understanding strategy and how is it that, you can be this millionaire that's making things happen, but you know that you have to do things efficiently. And so over the course of doing that, I could feel that my career path was coming to a close, but not quite yet. I just knew that God was doing something different. I was transitioning from the church that I was working at. And so my very last day there, the next day, I went to Maryland, Department of Tax Assessments, and I started Dreams Unleashed. I had been working with a coach myself. And so the day that I left, the very next day, Dreams Unleashed was started. So that particular work, the way that the two married together is that I wanted to figure out how can I pull together the strategies that senior executives use to figure out how to balance the business world and your personal life. How can we use those strategies to help women to become efficient, but not just efficient, but really to pull forward what their dreams and visions were? Because that's ideally what an executive is doing. Exactly. They have a dream, they have a vision that they want to pull forward. And so that was the work that started because I just felt like, being in, you see it in corporate spaces, there are a lot of men at the table and not enough women at the table.
Absolutely.
And then, just the idea that, we hear the whole thing about, a seat at the table, salon, just like, girl. But, just in hearing that, it just grieved me to see that women did not either have the spaces or didn't feel comfortable or whatever the reasoning was to feel like they could create their seat at the table or either feel comfortable enough to pull up a seat and have it themselves. And so that's kind of like some of the birth of Dreams Unleashed.
That's amazing. So were you kind of like that friend when that people kind of always came to about, sought advice from you and that kind of thing? Like, I'm just kind of wondering, has it's always been like something that was...
So my dad, so my backstory, we
Yes,
all have a backstory.
we all have a
right?
story.
And some
We
of
do.
our backstory, some of the things were really, excite us, and other parts of our story we wish didn't happen, but God uses all things for good.
Absolutely.
So my backstory is that my mom passed away when I was turning 5, and my dad was an alcoholic, and he couldn't take care of my brother and I, and so I went to live with my aunt and my uncle, which I'm grateful we didn't end up in the foster care system, and that's a whole other part of the story itself.
Yeah.
But my uncle, my dad, who I call my dad, who I live with, he was an entrepreneur. And so when I was in middle school, I would be, when I come home from school or on the weekends, I was at the computer figuring out invoices. And then, the more that I got better at it, I was connecting with his clients and things like that. And so I learned to be resourceful because as an entrepreneur, he was resourceful. And so I think that kind of began the early stages. And the whole dream architect thing, where that came from is that my birth father, his brother, and my grandfather, all of them, they had a construction business here locally. It used to be called Lytel Construction Company, and they were all in construction. So that was what that's what they knew. And so when the dream was birthed, I was like, you know what? That was all about building, constructing, and designing. I would love to be able to pull that forward, and so that's where the term dream architect came from.
Love it.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that. So, since your focus is women, tell me the main hindrances with women. I will share personally.
Please share.
I will. I will. For me, I think it has almost been, and I think a lot of women can attest to this. I think first I wanted to kind of make sure that my son was all kind of squared away. I don't think I have a son. He's in college. He's going to be graduating this year. Virginia Tech degree in business. So I'm really excited about that.
Great job.
Thank you. And I kind of put the focus on him, but I've always been, like I shared at the top of the show, like most women, put everyone first, and I've always put myself last. Because one, I am, on my resume, I don't just have like all the administrative things. I actually say in my resume, I said that I have a servant's heart. Even though I am an administrator, because to me, and I'm sure you agree, because you've done this for about the same amount of time that I have, is that you cannot be a good administrator, to me, and not have a servant's heart.
Absolutely.
And be willing to do whatever, and and put. So I've kind of always, because of my job, I kind of let my boss shine.
Right. Absolutely.
And then I kind of have let myself kind of fade in the background. And my friends will attest to the fact that I will say, oh no, I'm a background person. I don't. I always say that, the Braxton say I'm a do wop wop girl. That's me. A do wop 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 girl. That's me. Well, it was me. Can't say that anymore now that I have a radio show, huh? Right. But I've always said that. Right. All my friends will say that. I've always kind of like said, stepped back. So do you think that that's a major thing, that women just kind of feel like, I'm just going to kind of let everything else kind of come first? What do you find in your work? And then personally, like?
So the deal is that, in birthing and really focusing on women, it wasn't because I disliked the guys. I have a house full of men in my house. And so for women, by nature, we are nurturers, right?
No doubt.
Doesn't mean all women are, but typically, instinctively, we are, by nature, we're nurturers, right? So it comes very natural to us, right? And so we are so great, as exactly what you said, at nurturing everybody else's dream, and then we put ours to the side. And then by the time we feel like we're ready to be able to pull ours forward, we feel like we don't have the time, we don't have the resources, we don't have the money, or sometimes we don't even know what to do because we stopped dreaming. And then the second thought process that I personally have that's not popular, and I'm okay with it, is that I happen to be a Christian, and from a Christian background, what I've seen, and I've always been in church because my grandma and my mama, we went to church, right?
Of course,
so
absolutely.
A lot of times what I think I've seen over the years, me coming up, is women categorized as very meek and mild. And part of your role, even in church sometimes, has been that you are kind of background and you have this sort of very meek and mild presence. And the more meek and mild you are, the more acceptable it is. And so as women, even in the church setting, begin to say, I want leadership roles, it's not popular. And I know that conversation may not necessarily be be popular, but it's often not popular because it's often men who are in leadership who may not feel that it's popular. And I understand some of the biblical pieces with that too, but at the same time, I do believe that God gives women leadership capabilities within them, and you have to do something with it. So I think from those two places, it comes from that. And so for us, it becomes really hard because we're also expected to be all these different things. I spoke at a direct sales conference recently, right? And I had women list out like all your roles, and I had them guess how many roles do you think you have. And in some spaces, you know, initially before they wrote them down, they thought, you know, I only have about 4 roles. That's not true. When you write down all the roles that you have, for myself, I had 18. There were 18 roles at any one time that I'm juggling. And so when you think about sister, mother, neighbor, philanthropist, self-care, wife, all those things, it's tough when you are expected, you know, during the day, I am mom and I'm nurturer. And then as wife, I'm supposed to turn it on and be Sasha Fierce, you know, when it's time to go to bed. It's like there's so much that we have that are expectations of us that it's like, how do I manage all these things? And then there's the pressure of social media too, to make it look like you got it all together seamlessly, and it's not true. And so that can keep us in a place where we're stuck, and so we don't do anything. We end up existing instead of just thriving. And so we go through, it's sort of like how you get in your car. You know how you get in your car and you wake up to go to work or wherever your routine is? You get in the car, the first time that you do it, you're paying attention. Like on my way here, I was using Waze, right? Because I'm paying attention to make sure I don't miss my turn, right? So you're paying attention. But once you get into the routine of it, you get in your car, and then by the time you get to your destination, you don't remember when you made a right turn and when you made a left turn, right?
That's so true.
And so that's how we operate in our lives. And before we know it, it's like 10 years have passed, and we have literally just doing what? Maintaining. You know? Maintaining, right? And it's like, I just don't believe that God created us just to maintain, because in scripture it says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, right? And I really didn't honestly understand that until about 2 weeks ago. I was meeting with a coaching client, and I thought about that because we were talking about her gifts. And initially she thought, you know, I don't know what my gifts are. I think I only have about 3. I'm like, girl, wait till we finish. This whole thing is going to be full. And so when we began to walk through it, I said, girl, this is how I'm very visual. And so the way my creative brain, I'm not saying this is how it is, but the way my creative brain sees it is that when God made you, right, it wasn't like, it was like a whole bunch of people in my thought process, right? Because it says fearfully and wonderfully made. It's like he was, I'm going to turn this way. So it's like in front of him were all the gifts, right? All the different gifts that you could possibly possess, right? And so he has a basket in his hand. I told you this is Michelle's version of it, right?
I love it. I'm working with it. I love it.
Basket in his hand. And he's like, you know what? Oh, I'm going to give her teaching. Oh, I'm going to give her listening skills. Oh, I'm going to give her this. Oh, I'm going to give her this. 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 Give her this, right? All these different things. And then I'm going to allow all these things to take place in her life, the things that are good and the things that are not good. Because he said, all things work together for good, right? And so when you think about all the gifts that God deposited in you, right? You are fearfully and wonderfully made, because if you ever get unleashed, you are threatened to Satan's kingdom. And so his desire every day, just like your assignment every single morning when you wake up, you all's assignment every single morning when you wake up, your assignment every single morning when you wake up is to say, God, what is it that I'm supposed to do to fulfill this purpose today, right? Old school saints, they used to say, I'm just a soldier in the army for the Lord. I'm reporting for duty. What would you have me to do, right? And so that's our assignment. So the same way that you have an assignment every day, understand this, Satan and his angels have an assignment too.
They most certainly do.
Their assignment is to make sure you don't fulfill yours. Because the thing is, it's not about you, because you're just one person. The threat in you are the thousands, the hundreds, the millions that you have the potential to impact, because Satan is never after us. It's our seed, right? When you think about Adam and Eve, it was the seed of Eve that he was really after, you know? So if he can take your seed, which is the thing that can spring forth so much life, then guess what? He wins. wins. And so that's why
So
every
true.
day I talk to women, I say, you got to fight for your purpose every single day. Just because you've arrived, right, and you have your thing that you're working on, you got to fight for it every single day, because you don't leave here until your assignment is complete.
So true.
So that's, for women, that's the urgency of it, is that the thing that God has put in us. There's a one of the gentlemen that I'm sorry, y'all, I'm not sorry though at all.
No, we're not sorry.
I
love it. I'm having my own session. Y'all not getting it. I'm getting this. I'm like, she's pouring into me.
And so when we think about the things that God has for us, right, it is just so incredible. One of the gentlemen that I used to work for, because y'all know, that's why I say nothing is a job. Nothing. No, I don't care where you work. I don't care if you're at McDonald's. I don't care if you're at the library. I don't care if you're at a law firm. Everything is intentional and has purpose. There's something there that God wants you to do. There are people that there are two things you are supposed to do at your assignment, I believe, right? And until those two things are done, you are to stay, right? One is that you are to pour into every single person that God sent you there. And sometimes he'll send you for the one, because scripture tells us that he goes after what? The one sometimes. So sometimes he'll send you after the one that has nothing at all sometimes to do with the job itself. It might be you just showing up to be able to encourage that single woman, that single mom that's had a rough night or having a tough time with her son, or maybe it's your boss, right? And then the other purpose is that we are there not to just pour into, but to be poured into. God, there are things that you gotta get out of this assignment before you get promoted to the next one, right? So we have to do those two things. And so one of my assignments, I was working with a gentleman, we're still friends, Arnie Christensen. I actually just met with his wife 3 weeks ago for a project we're working on. And we worked first at Fannie Mae, and then we worked together at American Express. And he was telling me, he's a believer, and he was telling me this story one day about his sons when they were little. And he said that his sons, they played football, like little kid football, right? And so there was this, when they would be on the football field, it was time for the game. Y'all know those parents, it's like they on the field, and they're like, right there, those parents, right? But this particular dad, his son's name was Darius. And Darius would be out on the field. My boss told me this story, it's been like 14 years, and I still remember the story because it's so impactful to me. But Darius would be out on the field, right? And Darius' dad, let's say this is the whole, I'm not a sports person, y'all, but I just know it's like this line, the yardage, right? From here to here, whatever the field, the space is, right? So Darius' dad would run from one end of the field to the other end of the field, and he would be yelling, Darius, leave it all on the field, leave it all on the field, the entire time. And what he was telling him was, Darius, you better leave everything that's in you. You better leave it on this field. Don't you get off this field until everything that you were purposed to do is left there.
That's powerful.
Right? And
that's
huge. How
that's
we
huge.
are. As whether you are a man, whether you are a woman, but I speak specifically to women, you are to leave everything on the field. And so that's the urgency of the work that we have to do. Y'all know? Y'all know? That's God.
Yes. Amen. Oh, God, I forgot what I was going to ask next.
You said we just gonna flow.
We are gonna flow, but I did have something while you were talking, and I done lost it. Wow. Well, let me look at my time. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break because I want to bring on Michelle's current client, Summer Theodore, so we can talk to her for a bit because we're running out of time already. But we'll be right back. 1 minute, everybody. We'll take a short break. Right. We're back with Fabulous Living. Now I'm up here with my next guest, Summer Theodore. I'm so excited.
Hi.
Summer is a current client of Michelle's, and I just wanted welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. So I just kind of wanted to, hear your story a little bit, and then have you share how you kind of came in contact with Michelle, and then just a little bit about the process. Just go. That's the only question I'm going to ask. Y'all just go. I love it.
She's giggling because as we come back from this church moment we all just had here.
Okay, exactly.
So again, my name is Summer Theodore. I am a lifestyle and fashion blogger here in the DMV area.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've been blogging for over 5 years now.
Awesome.
And last year, actually Michelle and I met years ago. She was one of the teachers of the marriage
Premarital class.
yes, premarital class.
Okay.
For my current husband and I.
Hey.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so it worked out.
It worked
It
Amen.
worked out. As I in church.
The multi-talented Michelle McKinney, everybody.
Yeah, she's bringing everyone together too.
I love it.
So she last year reached out to me. She had a God moment. She woke up and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Literally, she woke up on a Friday and said, "Hey, what are you doing on Sunday? I want to get some ladies together." And so I was one of those ladies that were chosen, which thank God I was.
Amen.
And we all got together just to chat and talk about life and talk about our businesses and our entrepreneurial goals. And it pretty much sprung into this whole coaching accountability group. And we coached and we were together all last year. We just met again this year. And it's just really been a blessing. And she has really helped me define the path that I want to go down as far as my entrepreneurial goals. Because sometimes when you're, first of all, this is fairly new to a lot of people. As far as starting your own business and things like that. And with blogging, there really isn't a straight path or guide.
There isn't. You're right.
I'm sure you found that when you even started your blog.
Yes.
Yeah, and
still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, every day you're learning something new and you're just trying to stay on top of things. So it's very helpful to have a mentor or coach to help you just really zone in on exactly what you want to tell your audience. Because a lot of times I'll sit there like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I want to talk about today. But she teaches you, like, what is your passion? She'll drill that. Drill. Did I say drill?
No. No, not who, her? No, she wouldn't.
No, not her.
Not her, right?
But yeah, she will drill this out of you,
awesome.
which is what you need.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes, you start out very surface. It's almost like when you go to therapy.
Yes.
Hi, yes, I'm great today. And then she keeps asking you different questions, and then you start just divulging all your secrets and everything that happened in your past, and then you find out, oh, this is what my passion is. So she really is a dream architect. Because she breaks it all the way down and just to build you right back up.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. I love that. That is so awesome. So tell me, when you came into contact with Michelle, were you already a blogger or were you trying to start the process? I just want to know where you were in your
I was already a blogger.
You already, okay.
And I was very blessed because I actually, in September of 2016, I left my job. And I was just very unhappy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
you so
awesome.
much.
Let's
Thank
clap
you so
that
much.
up.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, thank you so much. And I wanted to pursue blogging full time. So when she reached out to us in March or April of last year, it was like the perfect season. First of all, spring, the start of the new season. And
Amen.
I love what you said earlier. I just said this to some of my followers the other day, like, do not get caught up on the calendar year.
Amen.
Do not get caught up on January 1st.
Amen.
Your season can start at any time.
At
It can start
any
at
time.
the beginning of a week, a month,
All right.
a season, your birthday. It does not matter.
That's right.
Because like she said, it's urgent that we get these dreams out because the more we sit and sleep on it, we're not helping these hundreds and thousands of people out there that God is sending us out here to help.
Absolutely.
So I was literally like in the middle of pretty much a shift with my blog. I wanted to change some things around. So she came in at the perfect time. I was about 4 years in at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me this, because I know that, kind of life coaching and things like that and I want both of your perspectives on this. I know that the whole life coaching thing is something, it's almost kind of like I wouldn't say it doesn't have a stigma like, with our folks as far as like psychology or anything like that or counseling. But I do still think it's still a new kind of thing.
Yes.
And people are kind of like, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think I need that.
Right.
So tell me, first Summer, and then I want you to answer as a life coach too, Michelle. But what do you think if you had any preconceptions, about the whole process, tell me what those were, if you feel comfortable sharing them, and then how those were kind of, debunked by the time you
worked with
went
her.
through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually was very open to being coached because early on, years ago, I started therapy. My grandmother had passed away on my mom's side, and it was like a year out, and I was still grieving, and I knew that I needed to seek some, assistance. So therapy actually, I guess, opened up that mindset for me. But
definitely.
I definitely understand what you're saying, because I think right now it's trendy. It can come across trendy where people feel like they are great at one thing for 3 months, and then all of a sudden they want to have coaching clients. And so sometimes you have to do your due diligence. And I would say absolutely ask as many questions as possible to the person before
that's awesome.
you give them your money.
Right.
Because
there are a lot of people out here. Do you see them on Instagram? And I'm like, what are your credentials?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Weren't you just doing, you're kind of wondering, like, how did you, so you're right. That's a good point.
And you need to look for testimonials. And I believe everyone is pretty much the sum total of the 5 people they spend time with. So if you see this life coach and you see that she doesn't have a lot of people vouching for her or him, then more often than not, they may not be a good person to, give your money to and spend your time with. Because as we all know, we don't have a lot of time, and oftentimes we don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So you need either one. You can either have the time or the money.
Right.
So and we want to spend both of them correctly.
Absolutely.
And I would say that, of course we'll all make mistakes in our businesses and things like that, but I would definitely ask as many questions as you can. See, and you'll be able to see out definitely on Instagram. You'll see in the comments, and you'll be able to see, people tell you hear word of mouth from people, what their experience has been with this person. So I would definitely say have an open mind and the right person, just like either therapy or even finding a husband. The right life coach is out there for you.
Okay, that's great advice. That's really good counsel, because I do think because it's one of those things where a lot of people, like you said, some are doing it. Yeah. I mean, almost everybody's saying they're a life coach now. Yeah. And finding that right match is key.
It is.
It is key, and there are some good people out there, like Michelle McKinney, who can help you with that. So, Michelle, what do you think sometimes, as you're the one facilitating this whole process with people, what are some of the roadblocks if you have come against? I would say particularly with people of color. Who kind of are like, I don't know. I don't need you. I got Jesus,
Absolutely. It's interesting because Rashida Banks, who's also a client and also a friend now of ours too.
I follow her on Instagram.
Yes. Rashida.
Yes.
If you don't follow Rashida Banks.
Yeah.
But one thing, Rashida and I, we were talking earlier today, and she said something I thought was so profound. She said, when it comes to, we were talking specifically about coaching, and she said there are some people who like to do, and there are some people who are called to do it. She said, you're called to do it.
Amen.
And I agree with that. And when you think about Scripture, Scripture says, make your calling sure. And it's always, I think, growing up in church again, that whenever we've talked about calling back then, it used to be always associated with someone who's a minister or a preacher or a pastor, right? But I believe that piece that talks about making your calling sure, all of us are called, right?
Yes.
And so the thing is, this calling that I have, I tell people I come prepared with the tools and the plan, but I am not responsible for what the Holy Spirit does during that time, which is so incredible because I don't know your ins and outs. And so when we are sitting at a coaching session, we are working. And so if they are working sessions, you're not getting a watered down, this is the process. I can't tell you if we're going to hit your purpose in 3 sessions. For some people, they are further along. For some clients I have, we end up hitting roadblocks that we have to work through that are from childhood. And so for our community especially, that is one of the challenges because we were always told, keep your personal business to yourself.
Definitely.
Don't talk about what happens outside of this house.
That's right.
And the challenge that we find, and it's an opportunity because I'm here to work with you through it because I want to see this thing manifest in you, is that we have to sometimes go all the way back to childhood to figure out who was it that projected their fear onto you
Wow.
when you vulnerably shared what you desired? Because when we're 5, people are like, what you want to be when you grow up? And they're all excited, and you say you're a ballerina, and they go buy you a tutu, and it's all, then you turn 7, and it's like, what do you want to be? And you say a ballerina, or maybe a teacher, and they're like, okay. And then you get to middle school, which I found with women over the 3 years that I've been doing this, that it's somewhere around those middle school years when you're 10 and 11, when people who are authority figures in your life, family members, teachers, or whoever, ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? And you still might say a teacher or a ballerina, right? They look at you and you sure? Teachers don't make no money. You can't be a dancer because your hips aren't shaped right?
Wow.
So then what happens to that 10 or 11-year-old is they end up telling that person, go sit over there in that corner. Don't tell nobody else that, because it was vulnerable for them even as a child to share that vision and that dream that God had been stirring at them all the way since birth. Yes. And our job as parents is to be able to help cultivate that and nurture it. It doesn't mean that they're going to end up a ballerina or a teacher, but you have to help them along that path. And so it's making, for me, individuals feel welcome. You'll see on my website down at the bottom in terms of testimonials that most of my clients will always say, that it's like working with a coach / girlfriend, because that's my approach.
I can see that. That's awesome.
It's very personable. It has to be personable because I'm asking you to do something that's so vulnerable to you that we have to have the right energy and the right connection,
no doubt,
to be able to pull that forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And can I add something?
Please do.
Because I always like to say when you're when you get older and you have triggers, little Summer will come out. So little Summer that was 5 who was hurt by some words that her mother or her father did or did not say to her, will come out when you're, when you are 30, 35, 40 years old.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be okay with letting those things out, because the only way you're going to be able to propel forward if you actually let those things go. Like, just work through it and deal with it and let it go. And that's
awesome.
what she helps you do as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I want to touch on something when you were talking about roadblocks. And sometimes those aren't necessarily things, they're people.
Ooh. Did y'all feel that?
I felt that.
You felt that too?
I mean, I'm just saying. Sometimes they're people.
Yeah.
And I will be honest with you. Sometimes, especially when you are moving, and I shared this a little bit with Michelle the other day when we were talking, and I said, sometimes when you're moving and you're starting to operate in your gifts, and I want to hear how this has been for you, because I find that sometimes the people that you thought were going to be there aren't there, and then and you have to kind of readjust your mindset and realize, okay, sometimes where you're going, everybody can't go.
They can't.
And that's a hard thing to hold. And Michelle said something, and we just talked for a few minutes again for the second time the other day, and she just said something that she was just like, that loyalty thing, that whole piece. Yeah. And you have to learn that sometimes it's not, we kind of use that as a crutch, like, well, we've been friends forever, or what have you. But I want to know, for you, as you've been going through this journey, like, first of all, becoming an entrepreneur, and then 2, I'm just watching our time. We don't have very much time left. So, hate that. So, as far as your journey, as far as, becoming an entrepreneur, one, and then especially as you've been really tapping into your gifts and working with Michelle, and I'm sure that's probably unearthed a lot of things. So tell me how that has been as far as like your relationships with your friends, family, because all of those things kind of start to change when you're not who they thought you were.
They really do.
So
Rashida and I, again, we keep bringing up Rashida, but we talked yesterday, and it was funny. We said sometimes people expect you to be right where they left you.
Well.
And honey, I'm not there anymore. I moved, my address changed. I moved around you know what I mean? Like, I'm around the block. So you might have to meet me. You might have to go a little further down the street and around the corner to come meet me where I am. And some people aren't there. They didn't get.
If I didn't need this mic, drop the mic on that.
They didn't get the GPS. They didn't have Waze. They
Jesus.
didn't, they couldn't
Yeah.
and it's
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
And I think also, to be fair to those who are our loved ones, who are, everyone's not going to understand and get it at first, and that's okay. Your family and your friends they're not necessarily the person you're supposed to reach at the time. So sometimes our expectations of them are not fair. I had to realize that as well. And you have to actually, like, if you notice that someone wasn't supporting you in certain things prior to you becoming an entrepreneur, then why all of a sudden expect that of them now? That's not fair to them. And also, they're just not your direct customer. And that's okay, too. And there maybe just let them be your friend or your family member and let them support you in other things that they are really good at. Maybe they're there to support you when it's your birthday or, during the holidays or when y'all want to just go on a vacation and let your hair down and just be a girlfriend. Let them serve that role, and then God will give you other women or men to fill in that void and that hole for you. And it's okay. And then some people are just, God will reveal to you that they're just not meant to be on this journey with you anymore at all. And it's hurtful and it's okay to grieve it, but then you have to move past it and just know that God will take care of you, and you will also find other people and other, in other ways to support that.
Man.
Yeah.
Do you have some life coaching in your future, Summer? You've been taught. I love that.
I'm open to whatever God wants.
Amen.
To do.
Amen. So, Michelle, I want you to speak on that, and then I'm gonna. Unfortunately, I want you to give your social media info so people can get in touch with you about your business, and I would love to have you back on.
Oh, sure.
Because I think we should. Kind of collab on some whole things with your whole lifestyle thing, because that's what I do here. So we'll talk offline. Sorry, we were having a little meeting. Sorry. So, Michelle, speak to that, and then I want you to also give your social media and everything. They're going to have to wrap it up, ladies.
Yep. So I'll just, I'll share this, and this is another part of our story. So we adopted my daughter 4 years ago from Ethiopia, and it was something that God was calling us to do. And I thought, that just like sharing that I was pregnant, that everybody was going to be excited in my family, and they weren't. It was very hard. There were some hurtful things that were said and just different things because they didn't understand the vision. Sort of like Noah, right? That's the great thing about the Bible, is that those lessons are there. And so what I had to do was I had to find who were going to be my champions. And so the people who ended up being my champions, I didn't even know them. There was a couple in Tennessee. It happened to be a white couple, Sarah and Daniel Dubois in Tennessee, and they had gone through the process. And so I found somebody who had gone through the process. They were in the process of adopting their child from Ethiopia, and they had finished all their fundraising, and that was who I needed in my life. So that's who I welcomed into my circle. And what I found was that the more I just kept plugging away at the vision of what God had given to my husband and me, people started, my cheerleaders and my champions, they started coming together. And so before you knew it, those same people who had not so nice things to say, they are our biggest advocates and allies now. And so we have to understand that sometimes I think, not that they are Satan or they are the enemy or anything like that, but sometimes, Satan will use those who are closest to us.
Absolutely.
Remember I said you got to fight for your purpose every day?
Yep.
So it's his intention to be able to use and mobilize those who are closest to you
so
that you get distracted, because you'll be distracted by the relationship instead of the vision that God has called you to. So you got to stay focused on the vision, and you have to begin to reshift your circles to be around people who are already where you want to go.
Amen.
And then also some running mates who are wanting to run alongside of you. And it doesn't mean you don't love them. I love what Summer said. It just means they serve a different role. And so you don't talk about the vision to them. And I think it was in the Bible that he could not talk about the dream guy, but he couldn't talk about his dreams to anybody else, because if he did, he knew that death was sure to come. So you can't talk about your dreams and the vision that God's given to you to other people, because it could be a situation of life and death. And so of the dream and of the vision a lot of times.
That is so true.
It is.
Ladies, I wish we had more time.
I know.
Y'all have been amazing. So, Summer, tell me and the listeners the name of your blog and all your social media handles so that people can get in touch with you.
Sure. My name is, again, Summer Theodore. The name of my blog is And in Summary. It's a summary of my favorite things. You spell that ANDINSOMMARY. You can find me everywhere on social under And in Summary and andinsummary.com.
Love that
She's
name.
fierce.
Yes, she is. I love it. And Miss McKinney.
Yeah.
How can folks get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So the website is www.dreams-unleashed.com. Unleashed.com, and the party happens over on Instagram mostly, and that's Michelle.McKinney. 2 L's on that, Michelle.
Follow her right now.
Please do. Amazing. And I thank you both for being my guest today. My heart is so full right now. I'm just
Me
so
too.
glad that I've met the both of you and we've made this connection, and I know it won't be the last. So thank you both for sharing your gifts. I really appreciate it.
Thank
So we're going
you.
to wrap the show up, but I just wanted to end it because I just thought it would be perfect since this is, since we were talking about Maya Angelou earlier, but I just kind of wanted to just read the last part of Phenomenal Woman. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to read or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care, 'cause I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Thank you, everyone. Blessings. See you next week.